Welcome everyone to another of our monthly installments of the Intentional Success webinar series. Today we're going to talk about the in-between times and, well, decision making, and how do you make decisions when you seem to be between where you want to be and where you're going. Lots of changes are going on, a lot of stuff happening right now. Many of the questions I'm getting from you on a weekly basis, a daily basis this morning are how to make decisions with all the whatabouts that we're dealing with right now. So I'm going to give you some framework for making better decisions. I'm excited about that. I think we're getting a lot more clarity in our conversations this year. Now that we've been through this pandemic, we have a better understanding of what it is our jobs are, where we're going to make an impact and difference is. So for those of you who don't know, I am Tom Stimson. I'm president of the Stimson Group. I work with owners and leadership teams for companies that would like to make a difference, improve their decision making, grow, make more money, just maybe have a better life while they're doing it. If I can help you with any of that, don't hesitate to reach out. I'll give you an opportunity to do that again later, of course. If you're new to us, welcome. This is being recorded. I always cross my fingers and I always double check. Hey, did I hit record? We all heard it. Yep. This is being recorded. It'll be posted up later today. You'll get an email that takes you to that link. You'll have access to that replay for a month, and then we'll replace it with next month's. We use the Q&A box for questions. We use the chat box for comments and howdies. Say hello where you're from. Post questions to the rest of the attendees for things that you'd like to crowdsource an answer on. So enjoy yourselves there, but if you do have a question, I've already got questions in the Q&A box, which is why I know this is going to be a good session. On anything at all, don't hesitate to write them in there. It doesn't have to be on the content, but I'll probably answer the content questions first. So this month's quote, I tell you what, be fast, have no regrets. If you need to be right before you move, you're never going to win. This, oddly enough, this quote comes from a man named Mike Ryan, who's an epidemiologist with the World Health Organization, and he was certainly talking about the health community's response to the pandemic, but it is so apropos for us and what we're dealing with in our businesses right now. So, yeah. I've often said, win fast or lose fast, make a decision, keep moving. It's the same thing. We can't wait for us to be right. We need to be 80% sure, 70% sure, and we need to go. We need to move fast, work inside of our comfort zones. But if you're waiting for a better time to do it, you're not in the right business and you're not in the right era. The time to do it is probably right about now. So before I get into the content, I want to give a little bit update on the business of doing business in a pandemic, because we are in about month 18, and I'm updating my predictions and recommendations. Even since last month, the end of this year is kind of up in the air a little bit, right? We're looking at vaccine cards, we're looking at masks, we're looking at social distancing. All of these things are going to continue to be a part of our daily lives, and certainly in the event world, they're going to become very, very critical. We're seeing major events, tours and concerts and baseball stadiums that are requiring proof of vaccination to enter without a mask. We're going to see all sorts of this stuff going on in our industry, maybe required by the venues, maybe required by our clients. Or the municipality, the government organizations that manage these things. So it's going to be a better version than what we dealt with a year ago. We have a much better understanding of what works. We know that vaccines work. We know that masks work. We know that social distancing work. None of it's perfect, but we know that we can manage the conditions with compliance, and that it allows our industry to be productive. But there's always uncertainty, all this. There's uncertainty about who's going to comply, what the government is going to do, how local communities are going to react. And that uncertainty is not good for us. We do not thrive in uncertainty. We need our buyers need to be confident that they can hold events, what kind of events they can hold, whether they're going to get the productivity and the results from that event. You're in the event business. We need people who are confident that having an event in the way that they want to have it is a good thing. So it's going to be a little tenuous for the next few months as we get through this next surge. Now, having said all of that, what's the actual impact going to be? Well, I think 25% of the in-person events that you have scheduled for the next through the end of the year are probably going to go away. They're going to cancel, they're going to postpone. Some of them, of those events, are going to become hybrid. Some of them are going to meet anyway, okay? And some are going to go 100% virtual. So in the great bell curve of all things, all meetings for the rest of the year, we're going to see a distribution. My best guess is it's going to be a fairly even distribution of how they're going to migrate. The only thing that really hurts us as providers are the jobs that cancel. Postponing hurts us because it's not income that we have now, but at least we have something in the future pipeline. It's the cancellations, which is often going to be social events, recognition events where they can recognize them differently. But the core business meetings, the organizational meetings, the association meetings, even the expos are going to go forward in some fashion, provided they can meet the, the mask and distancing and vaccine guidelines of that locality. For those of you not in the US, and I know many of you are not, you all have your timeline of how far behind the US you are. My Canadian clients say, yeah, we're generally about 60 days behind you, maybe 90 days. My UK clients say, yeah, we're 3 or 4 months behind you. Do your own math. You know what the future looks like based on what we're seeing here in the US right now, because we're kind of the bellwether. Now, let's get on to 2022. 2021 is going to be a little bit of a bumpy ride, but on the whole, we're going to have business. We're going to get work done. We're going to make money, as long as we don't get too far ahead of ourselves or create unreasonable expectations about how we do it. In 2022, I think that all the Q1 meetings that you have right now, the people who are planning those meetings are rethinking that pandemic risks are still going to be prevalent. They're going to be high, and they're going to adjust their meeting accordingly. Okay. This is going to be, in my opinion, the business as usual model for a very, very long time. 2 full years of pandemic accommodation just is now a habit. And a year from now, we will still be looking at meetings that are making accommodations and expectations based on pandemic risk. And we need to be there to support it because the events are going to happen. So planning for contingencies is our future. And there is good money in planning for contingencies. So I hope you all will get on board with that. Now, in 22, the second quarter and beyond, stick with your strategy. We're going to talk strategy today. We're going to talk about how important it is to pick a strategy and go with it, and make minor adjustments if you need to, if your strategy was incorrect. But more times than not, you need to make tactical adjustments so that your tactics better fit what your strategy is. Stick with it. Focus on your core customer profiles, the people that you want to do business with the most. Meet them where they are. Meet their demand. Do the things that they are asking for, even if it's a little bit outside your wheelhouse, because our future is in our customers. Our future is not in what it is not in what we would like to do. I know many of you would like to load trucks full of gear, send technicians out on jobs, execute shows full of people, take pretty pictures, put them on your Facebook page, and then do it again. That may not be what you get. Okay? Do what your customers need you to do, and you'll never, never go wrong. Okay. Now, non-core business, the distractions, the shiny objects, you're going to have to learn and be better about rejecting that. Why? Because you don't have the capacity for it. Okay. As we move forward, you have a smaller team, you have lower overhead, you're more cautious, you're more willing to turn down business so that you can serve the capacity that you have better to the right people, make the right money. That's not going to go away. So you have to learn to reject non-core business effectively so that you can stay lean. So any questions about when can I hire back my entire 2019 staff? The answer is that's the wrong question. Okay. What's the staff that you need going forward that allows you to stay lean, meet the needs of your customers, make money, and continue to grow your business and thrive? Well, there's a start, isn't it? So some of the short-term tactics right now that you should be focused on right now, this quarter, this month, the quote that you're working on right now. Given the volatility that we still have in the marketplace and the fact that a lot of that volatility is coming back, non-refundable reservation fees. Okay. If you're still confirming a job and doing a 50% deposit invoice that gets paid after the show loads in and 50% 30 days or doing net 30 on the whole job, you're way out of step with the marketplace. You're not valuing your scarcity and your availability enough, or you're dealing with the wrong type of customers. Non-refundable reservation fees, progress billing. It's not going to kill you to have to write 3 invoices for one project or 4 or 5. It's not going to kill your client either if you present it correctly. You need to plan that every project has the potential to reschedule. That should be built into your agreements. Stay away from the hard sell, the pressure sale that we got to confirm this, we got to do this, because if you have a nervous clientele who is insecure about the playing field, it's just going to drive them away. Okay, this is not the time to play hardball. This is the time to upsell flexibility. Let me make this job easier for you to port. Let me make this job portable. We can move it to another venue. We can move it to virtual. Okay, let me help you. Let me give you my best advice as your supplier on how to make this job successful, regardless of what happens in the pandemic sphere. Okay, we owe that to our clients, and they may not be asking for it, but they probably need it, and you need to be there for them to do it. Now, let's get on to the webinar. Again, if you are still trying to figure out how to set up your business for success going into this future that we have, and the path is set, we have a pretty good idea of what the next 18 to 24 months are going to look like based on our performance for the past 18 months. Your business needs to be prepared to do that. You've had plenty of time, but if you're not where you want to be, call me, set up an appointment, use the QR code here, you'll hit my calendar. Let's have a conversation. Let's figure out if we can work together so that we can schedule the next conversation and get you moving forward. I can move very quickly if you're ready to move. But if you just want to talk about it and plan for the future, I'm happy to talk to you. It's what I do. You're not wasting my time by having a conversation with me to test where you're at. So this webinar, why are we having this webinar? It's the question I always want to address at the beginning of these things. Why did I choose this topic? And oh, by the way, because I chose this topic 6 weeks ago. Look, 2020 is our pivot. You know, whatever it is that we chose to do to survive a year ago or 14 months ago, it's under attack from old business. I'm hearing this every day. Our old clients are calling back. They want the same price. They want the same deal. They have the same expectations. They're denying the reality of what you've been through for the past 18 months. They're denying the reality of the shortage of labor, the trucking costs that you're dealing with, the scarcity of resources that you have. And they are shiny objects. They have revenue, which is very, very exciting. It's the jobs we used to do, which is very exciting, okay? But it's old school. Okay? It's the old normal. And our way of thinking is under attack from these jobs because we really want to go backwards sometimes. Certainly many of your people do. So whether you do or not, whether that's the right thing or not is another discussion. The fact is, these questions are distracting you from whatever it is that you're trying to get done. Something is out of sync when we're having these opportunities pull us in different directions. Now, RFPs are out there. There are people asking for business. There's people writing RFPs again. There is competitive quoting going on. There are customers who are shopping around trying to find the right partner to work with them. on their projects. There's a lot of portability in jobs right now. Our customers are still changing who they work with over what they've done in the past. So this is great opportunity. How are we going to respond to it? And then let's look at your team. You used to have 50 employees. Now you have 7, right? And you're doing 50% of the business that you did before. How is that working out for you? You've got lower overhead. And now that you're busy again, your teams are kind of stressed out. They're asking you to bring back all these people because you only need them for 6 weeks. How are you going to manage all of that? And then forecasting. How do you, I mean, we weren't great at forecasting before the pandemic, and we had a really steady stream of business. How are you forecasting now? How can I decide to bring people back when I don't know what October is going to look like, or my November jobs went away? Okay. These are the questions that you're all dealing with. I get them. You're bringing them to me. Thank you very much. I want to share with you today some of the tools that I share with my best clients about how to answer these questions and how to help you make decisions in these volatile times. And I can't wait till I say, well, since we're not in volatile times anymore, here's how we get to do business. No, it's still volatile. So decisions, what are you making decisions about? What am I hearing? Should I chase this piece of work? Should we turn this piece of work down? Should I hire anybody? Should I buy equipment? Should I invest in marketing? Should we change our building? Should I allow my team to have overtime? Should I get my salaries back up to where they were before? These are all great questions, okay, that don't have a stock answer, because the answer really depends on the business that you're doing and what it is that you're trying to get done. But why do we need to make decisions in the first place? I mean, seriously, can't we just let things dictate to us what we should do? Haven't many of your choices over your business career just been the obvious, this is the only likely option that's going to work, and you just waited until things were laid out in a way where you didn't have to make a choice, the choice was made for you? Well, we make decisions because they affect things, right? Decisions are important. They help other people make decisions. And even if you only have 5 employees, there are 5 people who need to make decisions on a daily basis about every single project. And because there's only 5 of them now, they're each individually making far more decisions than they ever made before. So they're wearing 6 hats where they might have worn 3 2 years ago. So they have a lot of decisions to make. So you, as the owner or the manager, have to make decisions so that other people can make decisions, right? This Monday's blog, I hope you've read it. If not, it's why sticking to a strategy is more important than choosing one. There's a follow-up blog for it next week. A lot of what I'm going to talk about for the rest of the webinar is based on things that you'll learn in this blog. So if my presentation becomes unfamiliar to you, go back and read this blog, catch up on Mondays, or just go to my website, go to blogs. It'll be the first blog on the list, and you can dive down deeper into this. But this is not new stuff. I've told you these things before, but now I'm going to show you how to use something I've taught you before as a decision-making tool. On your screen right now are Tom Stimson's generic business strategies. I know Michael Porter has his own generic business strategies. There's nobody more brilliant or wise in the consulting field than that, but these are mine. And they're based on what my clientele does, what my niche does in the live event space. And there are 4 basic business strategies. There's the capacity-based strategy, where I am renting equipment or providing people with a fixed capacity, and I'm negotiating price and availability. I have project-based business strategies, where we're trying to build the right set of tools and resources that we can package and sell or provide at a good value or at a value-added scenario, and have a repeatable process. And then there are client-based solution strategies, where what I do for my clients is based on what my clients ask me to do, and I backfill or back chain, depending on how you look at it, the supply chain that supports my client's needs in the event world, right? And then there's an enterprise strategy, which says anything related, anything remotely related to any kind of communication. We're the provider, we take care of all of that, we outsource everything, we're the general contractor. We don't see a lot of that in our industry because our industry is not quite big enough for a true enterprise buy, but there we see models that kind of look like that. And you have a couple clients that might treat you that way. So these are the generic business strategies, and I want to get into this model to help you manage strategic priorities. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about how you use it to manage sales priorities. Okay. So if I have this model and I have a good understanding of what quadrant my primary business lives in, and where do I dabble some of the other times, but I know what my primary business is and what my primary customer should be, then this tool gives me the ability to weed out the shiny objects, the squirrels, the oh my God, wouldn't this be cool? Can we do this? So instead of asking, if I have this tool, instead of asking, should we do this? All I have to really ask, say, where does it fit in? And if it fits in, then should we do this? So I can filter out a lot of shiny objects by simply asking, where does it fit? And if it doesn't fit, I can walk away from it. The other reason I want to use this tool is because it keeps your current strategy in the forefront. No matter how many meetings you hold to tell the team what the business strategy is and here's where we're focused, you're going to have to say it again. So every opportunity you have to apply your business model in front of the team, to the team, if you're able to say, hey, here is our strategic focus, and here's how it applies to the situation we're having now, that's going to reinforce that. Okay? It also reminds us to use our new strategy and not the one that we had in 2019, which is begging us to come back to it with its overstaffing, too much gear, low margins, and all the other problems that go with it. Okay? It keeps us from making unnecessary detours. However, you may make exceptions knowing that you're going to go right back to your strategy as soon as you process the exception. So if we have too many exceptions, it undermines your original strategy. But if we know that we're going to take a short detour and we're going to go right back to where we were, it's much easier to talk about it that way. Okay? So we're always planning the re-entry. So there's some great reasons to use this, but let me apply it, some typical questions to your businesses. There are a bunch of little case studies here. So on the left-hand side, you'll see the description of the strategic profile for the bottom left-hand quadrant, which is the capacity pace quadrant. Many of you could be a rental, labor, and delivery orders. This is your primary business. Yes, you want to do big shows. Yes, we do corporate work. Oh my God, we did a tour one time. We're in the touring business. But your primary focus is small rental and delivery orders. You make a good living at it. You wish you had more of that kind of business. So your strategic priorities are on the left here. Strategic priorities about optimizing utilization. I need to get the gear moving. I don't want to own stuff that's idle. I don't want to have employees that don't have any work to do. That's optimization. So I want to utilize my existing assets. I want to add assets when there's consistent demand for it, because then I have built-in utilization and I can make more money. I'm going to focus on gross profit, return on investment, not just gross profit. How does that gross profit pay for the things that I have invested in, which includes your inventory and your overhead, right? My sales strategy is going to expand. You probably are mostly B2B customers. You may have some B2C as well. That's fine. But I want to expand my reach into the entire available pool of customers. And I also want to meet the demand of those customers. Okay. Can I provide for them what they are asking for? Can I add the inventory, provide the services that will keep them coming back to me for these small orders? And then as I'm looking at my decision making, I'm going to look at the gross profit according to an asset. And an asset can be a piece of equipment. It could be an employee. Am I getting a good return in terms of gross profit over the course of time, not just on a per job basis for this asset? So in capacity-based businesses, we don't look at job cost. We look at a period of time and what is the return over a period of time. Now, on the right-hand side of your screen in red are the types of questions I'm getting asked on a regular basis. I put, for the 3 examples I'm going to walk you through, I put the same 6 circumstances on here because I want you to see that the answer to the question changes depending on what your strategic focus is. That's the whole point, right? There is not one answer. There's an answer that is relative to your strategy. So what is your strategy? And that helps us formulate the right answer. So say, for instance, you're in the bottom left-hand quadrant, you're a capacity-driven business, you're rental production, a competitor comes to you and they want to sell their equipment. Should you consider it, or is it a shiny object? Well, what are some things that we have? Can it help me utilize my existing assets? Okay. Is there demand in my client base? Would it allow me to take on more business? Are they asking me to do other things? Okay. Can I get a good ROI out of it? Okay. Will it meet expected demand? Right. And at the end of the day, can I get gross profit by asset over time on this new purchase, on this new acquisition? Okay. Processing those answers is different in this quadrant than it is in other quadrants. Right. Landlord wants you to take on more space. Hey, the place is coming next to you. Is coming open. I'll give you more room. You can have a bigger warehouse. You can have a few more offices. Right. If you're a capacity-driven business, right, does having more warehouse space actually increase your capacity? That's the right question. Right. Or does it just make it easier? Or is it just neat? Or would it just be nice? Right. So quickly we can get to the heart of the issue is, who cares? What's it going to actually do for us? Okay. Is it allow me to, will it bring me more demand? Okay. Will it allow me to accept demand that I can't accept now? That's how we're going to process that question. So any of these questions, any of these opportunities on the right can be processed in this way. How does it improve the strategic priorities for this sector or this quadrant of business? So knowing where you're at is very important for getting to the right answer. Now, there's lots of whatabouts here, but the whole point of this, we want to eliminate the whatabouts. Well, what about the client that hires us to do a big show every year? Well, what about it? Okay. Well, we could reduce our sub rentals if we got all this extra gear. Yes, on one job. Does it affect your core business, or is it affecting an outlier piece of business? And we'll talk more about that when we get to the sales side of this. So let's look at this. Let's go to another quadrant. Same questions on the right, same discussion pieces on the right side of the screen. On the left side of the screen, our strategic priorities are different. So if we move up into the top left quadrant, where I'm focused on projects and I'm looking for buyers and opportunities that fit the model that I've created and want to buy the way that I sell. They're willing to say, hey, we'd love you to guys do this job. How would you do this? Okay, let's use your systems and processes because I get more value when you're in control. You know, that's the business model up there. So best fit events. This event, this client are a great fit for the way that we do things. So my priorities are a repeatable delivery process. Okay? I want to reduce unnecessary customization. Customization is expensive. I want to avoid it. It's hard to make money off of customization. Okay? I want to outsource whenever possible because that reduces my overhead. It increases my capacity because I have more places to go to get people and resources. When I add assets, it's to reduce long-term cost of goods sold, not per project cost of goods sold. Buying something or hiring someone because it's going to make a job more profitable is not a good approach. If I can make many jobs more profitable over time, then it probably is a good approach. My outreach, my sales outreach is going to be to prospective buyers who have active projects. Trying to court people who may have a project one day would not be as an efficient use of sales outreach as somebody who has active projects on a regular basis. Right? And I will be focusing on gross profit, not by the piece of equipment or the asset. I'm going to focus on gross profit over a period of time, not a single job, a series of jobs over time. Okay? The blended gross profit of all the jobs during that time period is a much better indicator of how well you're making management and sales decisions in this model. Now, go over here on the right-hand side, you have a manufacturer comes to you and is offering great terms on a major purchase, because that's what manufacturers are doing right now. Any manufacturer that doesn't come to you with payment terms that are beyond your wildest dreams is probably barking up the wrong tree today. But what are the questions I'm going to ask? Okay. Is it going to reduce unneeded customization, or is it going to create more customization issues? Is it going to force me to have duplicate products in my inventory, the new version and the old version? Is that going to complicate my life? Is it anything my customers need or care about? Okay. If they're coming to me for my best fit solution, does this make my solution better, or is it just another way of doing it? So we change the questions that we're asking on this versus simply, do I have demand? Because you can have demand that doesn't warrant owning it. Okay? If I have consistent demand and I can make ROI over time, then the offer becomes more and more interesting. Freelance tech wants to go full time. I don't know why they would right now. They're going to make way more money being freelance and work less, but the freelance tech wants to go full time. Okay? What does that do for my best fit model? Do I want to have technicians on there? Well, if I'm looking at ROI over time, I have periods of time in a seasonal business where that technician is not going to have any ROI. So I've got to blend them over the entire year, not just a short period of time like busy season, or worse, a job. So I'm going to change how I look at that. Making sense? Okay. A client wants a 3-year deal with a price guarantee for 3 years. Well, if you're a best fit event, is that in your best interest? Okay. Or is that the customer trying to tell you how to run your business? Is there a better way to make them an offer to do business with you on a regular basis? I'm not a big fan of long-term deals, by the way. So all of these things can be processed better if you're looking at the quadrant that you're living in and what your strategic priorities are. And I'll take you to the last one, which is less familiar to us because many of our pivots in the past 18 months have been to this quadrant where we're trying to work with clients who come to us for many different things. They want help with their streaming. They want help with they want to record, they want to do production, they want to do hybrid events. Oh, by the way, they have this other thing. Hey guys, can you improve how our conference room works now that we're doing more virtual? Client relationships in the bottom right-hand quadrant have different strategic priorities. So if I'm building a business where my target buyer is someone who's coming to us with any issue in the sphere of communications and or events, then I can't have a set best offer or best way of doing things. I can't have a best fit. I have to adapt to what the client is. I have to outsource. I have to be nimble. I have to be able to price things I haven't done before. I have to be willing to act as a general contractor. But if I get repeatable demand for things like video production, maybe I start to add some of those assets into my business model because they're getting repeated use and they're going to have a good ROI. So my strategic priorities are to meet all the event needs of a target organization, whatever they may be. And I want to be able to go deeper and wider into that organization so that there are other departments or buyers within or other needs that my initial buyer may not have, but they can introduce me to other people. So I'm looking for an advocate in that organization that can take me deeper into it. I want to outsource as many skills as possible so that I can meet all the demand, which means I have to have a very deep bench of resources. I have to be very good at procurement. Okay? I'm going to acquire a business. I'm going to plan it. I'm going to procure it. Okay? Because we don't know what our customers are going to need next. And because they're our client, we have to make what they want a priority in spite of the fact that I may have a customer who's come to us with a one-time project. Your long-term clients who are asking you to do many, many things, the corporate campus, the university campus, the organization that comes to you all the time with many different needs is a higher priority than the one big job that you stumbled on. Okay. And I'm going to add assets when there's reliable demand, but I'm going to focus on the gross profit by client, not by asset, not by time period, by client. If I'm going to devote a portion of my organization dedicated to this one client, one of many clients, I have to be getting a good ROI off of that client. I have to be selling at a good margin. There has to be enough volume, and there has to be enough value that we can deliver from our internal processes to make this continued relationship worthwhile. Very different way of looking at things. So now when I'm processing some of these opportunities on the right, truck lease is up, the buyout offer is on the table. I'm going to outsource trucks. I don't want to own a truck. I don't want to have employee people that manage trucks. I don't know when I'm going to need a truck. If I do need a truck, I will get a truck and the client will happily pay me for it. So our decision-making process becomes very different. Whereas in the top left-hand quadrant or even the bottom left-hand quadrant, that having a truck available at your beck and call has more value in terms of controlling costs and keeping costs down than it does in the bottom right-hand quadrant. So again, where are you? Who are your customers? How are you going to do this? So some of the questions that you need to ask when you're focusing on priorities this way is, is this opportunity that's in front of us a distraction masked as an opportunity? Okay. Is it a shiny object? It's an honest question to ask. Will this move us closer to our overall strategic goal, which is to spend 80% or more of our time in the quadrant that we have chosen? Okay. Does this opportunity adversely or favorably affect our existing priority? Is this going to make us look smarter being in this quadrant because we took on this opportunity? And do we have a capacity? Capacity always matters. Do we have capacity to take full advantage of this opportunity? Or is it going to stress us to the point where we risk failure? Okay. I want you to be comfortable with walking away with things that are outside of your quadrant that have the potential for failure because it's going to stress your system. So by now you're thinking, where do I fit in? And there's a process and there's an exercise I take all my clients through. I did it just an hour ago. I hope he's on the call right now to help you understand where your business is right now in these quadrants and what that customer looks like. Now, those are strategic decisions, but let's make some sales decisions because that's what a lot of us care about right now. Can I get some revenue? Can I get some business going here? How do I take on this next job? Where should I put my energy? Who should I be calling on for our next opportunity? To make sales decisions, this model will help you distinguish first and foremost between customer types. Okay, there's agents, there's gatekeepers, and there's economic buyers. Okay, gatekeepers and agents typically buy on the left-hand side. Economic buyers typically live on the right-hand side. I sold shows for 15 years, millions and millions, tens of millions of dollars worth of business. I don't think I ever once talked to an economic buyer. I always talked to an agent or a gatekeeper. They may have made me believe that they were the person in charge of making the decision, but the fact of the matter is somebody else was telling them it was okay to make the decision. But being that the business I was in and was in the top left-hand quadrant, that was normal, that was acceptable, and our business was tooled to work that way. But if a new opportunity came in and I didn't recognize what kind of buyer it is, I might respond inappropriately, or I might take on something that I'm not prepared to do. Right? For instance, if I'm in the bottom right-hand quadrant on solutions-based client business, and I get a gatekeeper contacting us, I may put a lot of time and energy and pitches and designs and capabilities and meetings for somebody who cannot move the project forward. Whereas I can inexpensively do that in the top left-hand quadrant by sending them a deck, doing a quote. Okay? No big hardship there if they don't move it forward. I can distinguish between project types, recurring events, contingent work, fill-in work. Okay, for any quadrant that you're in, there are recurring opportunities. There are contingent opportunities. If I do this, I get this work. That's contingent. And there's fill-in work. There's work that you do because you have availability. I can make $1 on it, and we have the time. That's fill-in work. Okay. And then I can contrast between long range and short range thinking. Okay. These people will be a great client if we will just discount the heck out of this first job and cut our wrists, right? If that job does not fit into your model and is not a good idea to do right now, having a limited capacity team, a strategy that's focused on ROI, taking a job at a loss for the promise of future business will rarely make sense. So we have a lot of tools here for making sales decisions. Let's look at the same modeling again. If I'm down in the capacity quadrant, I've got sales priorities. I want market penetration. I want to match supply and demand. I want to look at what the demand is and see if I can make my supply meet it, which will increase my utilization of assets, right? And I want to balance availability and scarcity. I want to say, hey, you have all the gear available. Ooh, yeah. If you want that week, we need to get that reservation done now. We want to find the happy balance on that. And then I always want to upsell. This makes that work better. Can I get that? Can I ship that for you? Can I add this for you? Why don't you get that for 2 weeks and you can put that on that second job? There's always an upsell when you're dealing with capacity side of the business. Right? So now, when I have these sales opportunities that are on the right-hand side of your screen, like an old customer coming in as a third-party agent, they're way down on the food chain. Okay, I will probably deal with them on a capacity-based business. It doesn't cost me anything to generate a quote and create an opportunity. All that matters is that they understand that this is not the same as making a reservation. So there's no problem dealing with a third-party agent in this model. If I get an RFP for an event, but I don't have access to the buyer, well, I'm not really an event business. I might do events sometimes if it fits my schedule and my capabilities, okay? But I don't have access to a true buyer. Maybe it's not worth my time. You're going to have to answer these questions, but now we can filter it through our understanding of what your sales priorities actually are. Okay? Long-term rental of new gear. Man, I'm all over it. Yes, you want new gear, you're going to rent it for a long time. Absolutely, I'll buy that for you. Let's get a good ROI. Let's negotiate the price. Let's get this thing moving, and let's figure out what the back out fees are when you end the rental early, which always seems to happen, or what's the upside if you extend it. Okay? So every opportunity fits in one way or another into a quadrant or not. So if I take the same sales opportunities and I apply them to the top left-hand quadrant, I've got different sales priorities. Well, I'm looking for full service. I don't want to do rentals. I don't need another rental client. Rental is what we do on an ad hoc basis, generally for people that we know and only at the last minute. So I'm not trying to rent my precious LED wall for 2 weeks in the middle of October when I have shows and clients who want to do that. Customers with best fit events are going to need that LED wall, right? I want to optimize the utilization of my calendar. I'm going to look at the time period going, we should be busy in October. We got to, as we say, make hay when the sun is shining. So I'm going to focus more on opportunities that will keep me busy when I should be busy, because I'm going to get a premium price and I get maximum utilization of my assets. Right? I'm going to sell. I'm going to sell to the limit of my primary constraint. We all have a primary constraint. Do you know what it is? Yes, it's labor. Okay. When you run out of labor, you run out of capacity because there is no additional labor available. So when you've maxed out your labor, that is not the right time to be looking for more labor, because whatever available labor there is has been passed over by everyone else. So labor is our constraint right now. So I want to sell to the limit of my labor. And I can turn down work after that because I'm out of the one thing that's going to let me do this thing well. And therefore, I need to get top dollar in my sales priorities. I need to get top dollar for my primary constraint, which is, say it with me, labor, right? So if somebody comes to me with a recurring rental for a detailed set of equipment, which is a production rental, by the way, and I'm a best fit company, I'm going to look at that job and going, boy, I can't handle a recurring rental because some of those recurring rentals are going to happen when my best clients want us to do our best work. And that's going to diminish my capacity, and I don't want to do it. Or maybe you have an excess inventory of that product and that makes perfect sense for you to do it. But you're going to apply it you're going to filter the opportunity by going back and looking at what your sales priorities and your strategic priorities are for that quadrant. So getting down to the last quadrant, sales priorities, we're looking for organizations that have broad needs and recurring demand. They have jobs all the time. We want that person to be our patron and our sponsor throughout their organization so that we have a very tight relationship with a number of people so that we can keep doing business with them. We want to meet the demand with mad estimating skills. Okay, if you're in this bottom right-hand quadrant, you got to be good at coming up with numbers quickly that you can make money on, deliver what was asked, satisfy the customer's need to know so that they can make a go or no-go decision. You'll find that when you're in this bottom right-hand quadrant, there's often not a lot of discussion about price. There's really only a discussion about how much money they have available to spend. So it's a perfect situation where you say, yeah, oh man, we asked, yeah, I can see why that's worth $150,000. We've only got $80,000 budgeted for this event. You say, oh, no worries, let's find an $80,000 solution for you. And you go on and you're still going to do the business. And that's the wonderful thing about that quadrant. If you're in that quadrant, you're always going to prioritize your existing client relationships over new ones. Because if you sell too much capacity and your existing clients come to you with more work that you can't serve, you will compromise that existing client relationship. And the good news is your margins are higher down here, so you're willing to hold back capacity for people who are going to pay you really good money. And they don't care if you outsource, they just want you to take care of it. Okay? But there is always that constraint of running out of labor to serve those jobs. So this is all about deciding. This is all about how do I make decisions in this difficult time. Here are some questions to ask to help you decide more quickly. Okay? Particularly in sales opportunities, is the buyer or the agent our target customer? Before you look at the job, look at who brought it to you. Okay? If they are outside of your target, your next question should be, should we pursue this? Right? Don't assume that you're going to pursue it and then compromise on who you're dealing with because they're the ones who brought it. Ask questions like, will this directly lead to future work that we want? Directly lead, not potentially lead. Oh, they must do a lot of salesmen love to say, oh, these people do tons of shows. Really? What are they? How do you know? Quantify that for me. Give me the names, give me the jobs, give me dates. Okay. We want it to lead to future work that we actually want with somebody that we want to do business with. Does it make us more indispensable to that target customer? Gosh, it doesn't matter what quadrant you're in, you want to be indispensable. That's where the value is, being indispensable to somebody. Okay? Will this opportunity impede our long-term goals? Our long-term goals is to be firmly in this quadrant where we get to pick and choose the business that we're in. Is this job going to get in our way? Is this opportunity going to get in our way? Is this decision, will this affect our ability to reach that goal? And my favorite one is, if this opportunity did not exist, would I be doing something to try and get this opportunity or something like it? If I didn't know about this job, would I be out looking for a job just like this? And very often when we ask that question, we find out the answer is no, we wouldn't. We really wouldn't. And let's put our energy back into the things that we want, that we need, that we know fit our model and what we're doing. You have limited resources, you have limited capacity, you're running with less overhead, there's less market that you can build up in. The lead times that we're dealing with are extremely short. It's all about your capacity. Make sure that you're using it right. Now, there's some other uses once you start getting into this model and you understand how your business works and what your strategies are and what your sales strategy should be, is that you're going to define better metrics. Most of your pre-pandemic metrics are invalid. Most of the ways that you're measuring cost of goods sold come from pre-pandemic and they don't apply to how your business runs now. Lots of things have changed. When you reduce your overhead and you outsource more, your metrics change dramatically. We need to define better metrics based on the quadrant that we're in. We need to turn down better work. That'd be a great book title, wouldn't it? We need to create the capacity for the ideal work and reserve that capacity for ideal work. Don't fritter it away on non-ideal work because we didn't put the effort in to get better work. Okay? Marketing, sales outreach to the right targets for the right kinds of business, having a process that filters out people who don't want to do business the way that we want to do business. It keeps you on message. You know, I've seen some very cringeworthy posts lately on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, even a few company emails about, oh no, we have to wear masks again, instead of saying we are focused on safe and productive events as always. Okay. Stay on message. What is the message that your target audience needs to hear, not what's the worry in the back of your head? And calm down your desire, all of you, all of us, for in-person events. Okay. I want them as much as anybody. I'd love to go to a concert again. I'd like to go to a restaurant. Thank you very much. However, we're not there yet. Focus on your need for reliable gross profit. Put the gross profit first, measure it against whatever variable makes sense for that quadrant that you're in, and focus on that instead of this perception that somehow having an in-person event gets everything back to a normal, which currently can't exist in our business marketplace. Low overhead, labor shortage, supply chain shortage, particularly in transportation. If we get back to the in-person events that we had before, we will not be able to serve them because we don't have the capacity to do it. So embrace the capacity that's being offered to you. Focus on that gross profit. Okay? I realize many of you may love a business that's not readily available right now. And I know I sound like a broken record because I've been saying this for 18 months. Embrace the business that is available, which is what your customers are telling you that they need when we stop to listen. So we're going to slip into some Q&A here. If you've got a question, I've got a couple of questions in here already. If you have a specific challenge or opportunity, you know, we have this opportunity. If you can tell me what quadrant you're in, I'll try and answer it for your quadrant. If you say I'm in the project quadrant, we have this issue, I'd be happy to try and address it that way if you'll do that. And certainly if you can want to reach out to me after the webinar, I'm happy to process these things with you as well. So yeah, quick plugs. I realize I don't have the plug for next month's webinar. Guess what? We're going to find out when the promo goes out. If you want to have an appointment with me to talk about how we can work together and process some of your issues, I'll talk to owners and principals, schedule some time right here. And don't forget to read the book Demand if you haven't gotten it. We would love to talk about that as well. All right, so let me take a couple of questions here and get caught up on what's been going on in the chat. Yeah, a couple comments about proof of vaccine. Yeah, I'm concerned about this because it's going to be very difficult to prove and it's going to be very easy to circumvent. But I do like the intent about all of these things going on. We have some events coming up. We got Plaza coming up in the UK. We've got Infocom and then LDI coming up. We need to make some decisions ourselves about what we're going to attend, just like our clients have to make decisions about holding these events. All right, so let's dive into some of this. So first question I had was not the first question. The first one I'm going to answer is, what type of outreach marketing tactics do you recommend for the client-based quadrant? Okay, so we're down here in the client-based quadrant and marketing outreach. This is the difficulty here is that it's very hard to pin down who your buyer is going to be because it's not an industry, and it's not a segment, it's not even a job title. Okay, it's an N. So what I'm first and foremost is looking at institutions that fit for me. I'll pick an easy example. Universities are a great institution. that can easily fit into this quadrant if I can find the right inroads. So if I get in through the development office and I'm doing the tent parties for the alumni and the fundraising events, and pretty soon I'm doing booster club, and then I'm doing press conferences for the sports team, and I'm moving through all of the departments, and I'm doing graduations and hooding ceremonies, and it goes on and on and on. And if I can become the company that every department on this campus comes to, then I've got a great client, wonderful business. I'll find myself doing production, maybe doing integration. I'll do all sorts of things to keep that client, which is the entire institution, happy. Now, how do I get clients like that? Well, number one here is this is a place where business development can really help us. Okay, it's simply knowing that we need to get in a network with people and have the conversations based on a job title. Okay, maybe the office that they work in. Okay, if I go into a corporation, if I've got a huge corporate campus near my office, I want to go in probably through a marketing department, a communications department, some sort of employee services department, because they have training and meetings most often, and it's a way to get a conversation started. They do a lot of remote stuff as well. So business development helps me get to specific people. I also need to do traditional digital marketing because it's a long sale, okay? These people don't have a specific event where they go, oh, we need to go find a new vendor. They're going to call who they've always called or done what they've always done until they have a better opportunity. So I need to create better opportunities through digital marketing. Now that digital marketing, they may not already be subscribed. So how do I get more subscribers, which is the next question. And I can get more subscribers through social media, especially through LinkedIn. I can also go to conferences, trade fairs and expos that invite that target audience with those titles. And I can do that networking there, and I can gather emails, and then I can offer them information. Okay. Now, what's a great strategy for doing something that this audience might do? Offering events to talk about that, a webinar, tours of your video facility, your studio, whatever it might be, that kind of an outreach. So this is very different than what I would do in the other quadrants, because this is very heavy on digital marketing and business development. A lot of human interaction, a lot of filtering, and you have to have a sales funnel onboarding cycle that gets these prospects through the layers to make them buyers, because they may not have a specific project. What you're trying to do is build a relationship and help them define the projects that you guys should be doing together. So we're trying to get conversations that we wouldn't necessarily be getting in other areas. So big question. Thank you for asking that one. Question on what's a good non-refundable percentage for a job next summer? Good, especially one that doesn't incur much expense prior to the event. So we've got a job next summer. Circumstances are going to vary, and there's no standard for this. What's the value that you're going to impart on them for what period? So if the job is next July, okay, between now and next July, what do they expect to happen? When do they expect to happen it? If nothing's going to happen until March, great. In March, they pay a percentage to start the project management or design and planning process. I don't need to make a reservation because there's nothing to reserve yet. But when I start actually executing work and we start having the planning meetings, we start walking through the design, we start creating drawings, now I'm actually incurring expense. And there are always design and drawings, ask your team, do for these things. And it's very much about what's the value of those fees. So for March, April, and May, I'm going to do project management, design, production. It's not a percentage of the job, it's 20 days of work at whatever fee. And so I'm not charging a made up number. I'm charging a number saying the pre-production for this job is $7,800, and you send them that bill. So now we're more into the progress billing phase of this. The next phase of it is we're going to start securing labor, prepping the order, booking travel. I've got another installment bill that I'm going to send out. I hope that answered that question. Let's see. What's the best way to convince ownership to focus on core business and not take on so much other business that puts the company over capacity? Let's reverse that question. And how would the owner ask that question? What's the best way to convince our team that we need to take on this other work so that we have the cash flow so I can continue to get you, keep you employed? So the problem in this scenario is that disconnect between ownership and the workers about what business that you're in. So again, going back to the model and saying that we're in the project-based business, but we don't have enough projects, so we're going to take the rental. Okay. It doesn't mean we're not in the project business anymore. It just means that we need to take the rental, right? And we will be back in the project business when there are projects to do. So getting on the same page, having a tool that gives you the language to be on the same page, and know that sometimes we take a detour. Sometimes we have, I was telling earlier, in the organization I used to work in, we were 99% up here, but we had one client. And that one client was a royal pain in the butt from a operational standpoint, because none of our systems and processes were designed for dealing with clients. We were all based on dealing with a best fit events. And so we had to make accommodations, and that made it painful. However, if we can have the conversation with the team that says, yes, we have this one client, they work differently, therefore we need to work differently, but it's one client, okay? We're still in this business, but we need to make these accommodations, okay? That's gonna make it much easier to get through. So for the person asking your question is, you've got to make an effort to have a better understanding of what the thinking of the owner is. The owner needs to have a better understanding of the basis of your question. And the fact of the matter is, you both probably need to do a little bit. The owner needs to tighten up the definition of core business, which most owners do, which is how I make a living. So have them call me and I can help. But you also need to understand what your business is and what it takes to keep running this business, because you will be in some sort of an 80-20 model. 80% of your effort's going to go to your core business, 20% of your effort's going to be in fill-in work that allows you to keep the doors open, use your assets to get the ROI that you're looking for. It's a lot of refereeing. Okay, I know I'm a little bit over here, which is sometimes happens, but I do want to answer this one question about, in your opinion, will we be facing a new round of lockdowns as the Delta variant continues to grow? Some states are showing the same or more infection rates as the peak of the last round. As somebody who's in the South and who is in a state that is at the same infection rates that we were 13 months ago, yes, we are going to have maybe not lockdowns, because lockdowns were the response to unknowns. We have a lot more certainty about what we know. We know what works. We know what accommodations we can make to go to the grocery store, to eat in a restaurant, to go to certain types of events in terms of masking, distancing, and vaccines. So I don't think we will see the lockdowns, but we will see restrictions on how we can get together as human beings, which is still disappointing, but a lot better than a lockdown. So no, not lockdowns. Accommodations, yes. Acknowledging reality, yes. That's how we're going to get through this, and hopefully we'll get more people on board, so that we can eventually getting back to a more normal way of looking ahead at things. So there we go. That's all we got time for today, folks. Thank you very much again for being here. I'll be back next month. I'll give you the update as always. I'll give you a new tool or something to help you with your business. And in the meantime, if I can help you out, don't hesitate to reach out personally. I'd love to talk to you. If there's some way we can work together, we can discuss that as well. But it all starts with first having that conversation. So reach out. Doesn't cost you a thing, and I'm more than happy to do it. So thank you everybody for being here, and we will see you next month.